Hey everyone, Jim Admiral, also known as Al Spader, here to talk about the Redacted role playing game and the Threshold system. We have released the PDF for Redacted on Drive Through RPG, and there have been lots of folks reaching out asking about what the system is like and how is it different than what they are used to. So I'm going to try to go through a very quick look at the PDF and the rule sections and to talk about how is it do you go about doing your actions during the game. It's a basic test resolution system, but there are a couple of little intricate things that add in there that make it feel a little bit more thematic and to support your storytelling. So I'm going to go ahead over here. Here is the cover for Redacted. Jason Elias put this together. We wanted to get a lot of things in here, right? Because when you're doing a 1950s role-playing game, we wanted to get the saucers in there, but we also needed to get some giant bugs, right? We wanted to show a lot of action, which is what we're focusing on with this RPG. So, for those of you who don't know, Redacted is the brainchild of Aaron Paulier, who is a writer for Star Trek Adventures. He's also written a lot for BattleTech. Yeah, he's just a brilliant science fiction mind. And he's had this concept of this what if the Roswell crash was real, and all that time the nations of the world have been working with aliens and using saucers to explore space and whatnot. So the world and the lore in this book is 100% Aaron's, and it's not an alternate history. We like to call it a shadow history. This is real life history of Earth that where these events in Redacted happen kind of in the background, away from public knowledge, okay? In fact, the characters that you play work for Majestic or some of the other shadow organizations around the world as they work to cover up these things that happen on Earth's surface because of the relationship with the aliens. So this is powered by the Threshold system. So basically, Aaron came to me and said, "Hey, I really liked your narrative system that you used for Once Upon, which I created specifically for that game called Threshold." And he said, "Do you think we could adopt it to Redacted?" And I said, "Absolutely." So Redacted is a high action role playing game with a lot of mystery and intrigue embedded as well. So if you haven't checked it out or picked it up, the PDF is available now. The hardcover should be released in about a week or two. We're still waiting for our proofs to show up, and we don't want to sell you a hardcover if something is wrong with the print files. So we start off with our source of inspiration. You're going to see a lot of these 50s B movies, and we reference them all the time. We pull quotes from them. Basically, if you're a fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000 and you watch those movies in the background, that's kind of what we're trying to go for with this RPG. So it's a lot of fun. And so there's a lot of lore here. I'm going to scroll past it. This is an awesome map that Jay also put together for Groom Lake. This is the base of operations for Majestic, who most of the time you'll be working for. This is the United States, UFO agency essentially. But there's a huge timeline in here of the events. How did the events with the aliens influence? Oh, man, I love this picture so much. Influence the history that we have in the United States. So Jay also did a really nice job, finding some alien pictures and embedding them with old World War II photos. Really, really cool art here. But in general, I'm not going to go over all the details, but you choose an archetype, and then you choose a species. There are 4 species that are playable in the core rulebook, with more to come. We actually just finished writing 2 more for our next book. Then you choose your special abilities, you choose your items and things like that. But what people really want to know, and we can go back and review some of this other stuff as well. If you have questions about them, go ahead, post down below, and we will talk about, the vehicles and the weapons and things like that if it interests you. However, What we are interested in is the rules. So, a lot of people asking, what is the threshold system? Well, this is a system that I kind of put together. That basically I said I want to use D12s because nobody uses them. They often, sit in your dice box, and unless you have a great axe like in D&D, you don't often see them. Of course, there are some other systems that have decided to use D12s. Right, we see it. In Daggerheart, we see it in Coyote and Crow. So the threshold system is a little bit different, however. So threshold is another name for the number that you need to roll on a d12 for a success. Now, in this system, that number is always changing based off of what's going on around you. So, we always encourage narrative first, but if something that you are doing could have a questionable outcome, we ask you to roll tests. And most tests you're going to see are difficulty 1 or difficulty 2. That number refers to how many successes you need to get in a pool of d12s in order to have a success. Okay, so how do we determine how we get our pool of dice? Well, we look at our attributes, and I'll go through and show you a character sheet in just a few minutes. The character sheets have your attributes tell you what your pool is going to be. Now, there are other things that can add dice to your pool along the way as well. For example, every character has plot devices. Plot devices can be items, they can be training that you've had, they can be something about your physical body. And if any of these plot devices can help you in the test that you're doing, you get to add 1 dice to your pool. A couple of plot devices, like weapons specifically, some of them have additional abilities as well. There's a thing here called edits. Edits are essentially a meta currency that you can earn if you roll more successes in a pool than what the director has asked for. Okay, and some special effects will allow you to add dice as well. So, like, I think there's one gun in the game that if you're firing at someone that has armor, you get to add 1 additional dice to your pool. Little things like that. So, how does it start? Well, determining threshold. Threshold, again, is that target number that you need to be successful. So, the goal in the game is to get an 11 or higher on your dice, right? An 11 counts as a success. A 12 counts as 2 successes. Now, when you are doing a test, you look at your competencies, which are a lot like your skills. Your training and your competencies can actually lower your threshold on every single dice in the pool. So let's say you're trying to do a learn test and you're rolling 5 dice in the pool. Well, you start at needing an 11, but then you count down for each level you have in your learn competency. And each competency can have up to 3 levels in it. So essentially, if my learn was at a 2, my target number would start at 11, and then I would tick it down to 10 and tick it down to 9. So I would need 9s. Any dice that show a 9 or higher count as a success. And so that's how we kind of, how we make that target number variable with the threshold system. There's also things like advantages, right? If you can create an advantage that's going to help you, it can lower your threshold as well. Kits, if you have a prop that's called a kit, instead of adding dice to your pool, they actually lower your threshold for something you're doing. However, they have limited number of uses, of course. And of course, some special effects, which are like your abilities, talents, things like that. Now, what also happens throughout the game, if you sometimes if you dramatically fail, or sometimes if you're hit by an enemy, you start accruing something called problems. Well, problems do the opposite of what your competencies do. So if I'm trying to do that learn test and I'm using my brains to do so, maybe I am inebriated in some way, right? Maybe my brain is a little bit messed up. So I might have a problem there. So I would tick down for my competencies, and then I might tick up 1 for my problems. There are no hit points in this game. Instead, we use problems to dictate or to help change what your target numbers are going to be. So You can also re-roll dice in your pool. We have two ways that you can do that in the game. The first one is if you have what we call a conspiracy that your character believes in, and you can somehow link it to what you're doing. It'll allow you once per adventure to re-roll any failed dice in your pool. You can also do something called persevere. When you persevere, you get to re-roll any number of dice in your pool, but you have to suffer a problem in the attribute that you are using for that test. So essentially, you are working harder to try to be successful, but it's also wearing you down in some way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually scroll down to some of our characters. Uh, and there's a lot of GM information in here. Antagonists. We use an opposed roll system in this game. So if you've played Once Upon, my other Threshold game, we don't use opposed rolls at all. In fact, the GM never rolls in that game. But to up the action, we use opposed rolls in this game. So if you've got an angry civilian, right, and you're trying to calm them down, the angry civilian's going to roll first, and they're going to set your difficulty for you. So let's say this angry civilian is trying to communicate, "Get off my lawn," right? And they're holding this rolling pin above them. They're probably trying to intimidate you, right? With brawn. And probably communicate, right? So this person would roll 3 dice, needing an 11, but she does have a 1 in communicate, which would lower her threshold to 10. Now, notice she also has this annoying presence prop, right? So that will probably also grant her a 4th dice in her pool to roll to set the difficulties for the active player. So she also has some fun little abilities as well, and you'll notice that the abilities are all real silly. You'll notice that these monsters have problems, and the problems are off here on the side. So the more difficult it is to hurt or cause a problem to a antagonist, the more problems that they'll have, right? The more challenging they are. So we have 4 different tiers, and we'll get into that at some point as well. I'll probably do that in a different video. So let's scroll down. I don't want you to spoil that adventure. So instead, we also have a bunch of adventure briefs in here. These are just like little 1-page things that you guys can do, which is pretty awesome. Here we go. Ruth McCarthy. So I love Ruth. I think Ruth's a very cool character. So this is essentially a fresh out into the game character. These are her stats, and you'll notice that each one of our attributes has 2 related problems. So Ruth has a brain score of 5. The 2 different types of problems that you can have is confused or inhibited, right? So again, just like your competencies, your problems can go up to 3 dots as well. We call it intensity, right? And so you might be ticking down with your communicate test, but then ticking back up with whatever your problems intensity are. Okay. The one thing that we didn't really talk about is down here, these edits. Now, I said that this is like a meta currency you can get. So if I'm doing something that's difficulty 1, but I get 2 successes in my pool, I generate an edit for that attribute that I am using. Edits can be spent to do other cool things. You can spend 1 edit to get from the related attribute to add a dice to your pool. You can add 2 edits, or you can spend 2 edits to lower the threshold by 1. But again, it's only from the associated attributes. So if I have 2 edits in brains, I can only use those 2 edits to bring a brains test down. I can't use it for my others. The one thing that changes that is when we get to 3 edits. 3 edits is a very powerful tool that you get that opens up for you, and that is the opportunity to create something new in the scene that wasn't there before. This basically is part of the co-storytelling that the game really is trying to push forward, and so like as long as it makes sense narratively, you can spend 3 edits to say, oh wait, there's a gun on the ground, or oh, um, that snake is still cold and hasn't warmed up yet. Like little things like that that can help you out in the future. Okay. So let's say that Ruth was trying to make the same test we just showed the angry civilian trying to make. We're going to call it brawn plus communicate. Actually, Ruth's probably going to use her brain. She's probably going to try to talk them down. I mean, she's public relations, right? That's what she does. She talks down the civilians, right? So she's going to roll 5 dice and use her communicate score of 3. Now, does she have any props that are really going to help her out? Display paper, auto watch, semi pistol. She's probably not injecting an angry civilian with truth serum, so it doesn't look like she has any props that are really going to come into play here. However, she will have her 5 dice, and because she has a 3 and 3 levels in communicate, it's her best score, right? Her best competency. She's going to start at 11 and tick down to 10, then 9, then 8. Every single dice in her pool that rolls an 8 or higher is a success. Now, as I was saying about the props earlier, some props actually have problems as well. And these happen just as the result of, if you fail to do something or if you have a dramatic failure. So like if you ever roll a 1 in your pool, you cannot persevere for that roll. And that might actually have a problem affect either the prop that you're using or might give you a problem as well. We have a couple of other pre-gens as well. Ekaterina, she's more like a Russian spy, essentially. And she's got a lot of coordination, a lot of instinct. Really good character. Has a disguise kit, and then a bunch of single-use things, which go away as you use them. We have Thomas More. Thomas More was a first lieutenant in the U.S. Marines. He is a soldier, and he believes that radar anomalies are echoes from the past. So he thinks that when you see like a weird thing on radar that doesn't quite make sense, he thinks that you're actually seeing into the past. That's kind of like his conspiracy. And you'll notice he's got a service rifle that could become jammed. His trench knife could go blunt and things like that. There are ways to remove problems in the game. You can repair props and vehicles. You can take downtime to try to clear problems off your character as well. Here's the fun. Here now we're getting to some fun. We have Kenneth. He's an engineer and he's an android who has lived with the British for some time. He's a lot of fun. We have He Who Harvests Silicates. This is a Hopkinsville goblin, and he thinks that the Earth's crust is very unique, and it made his ship crash, which is kind of fun. He also loves explosives. You'll see that like he's a miner. He loves TNT and things like that. And then we have Richard. Richard is actually RH-9924-D7. They make up their own names when they're dealing with the humans, and he's a reticulan, and very much a doctor, which is a lot of fun. He does a lot of healing and whatnot. So we have blank character sheet in there as well, and then the index. So in general, to summarize, how do we play the threshold system in Redacted? If someone makes a test, they look at their attribute. That's how many dice they're going to roll. And if they have a prop that applies, they add 1 additional dice to the pool. You generally need 11s to be successful, but if you have training in the skill that you're using, it will reduce that number, your threshold, by the skill that you have, the level of the skill that you have. So if you have 1 rank in a skill, you would need 10s on your dice to be successful, right? And again, the difficulty that the director gives you is how many successes you need to generate in a pool. There are ways to re-roll. and there are no hit points in this game. Instead, you suffer problems, which then tick up the threshold that you need to be successful. So, yeah, that's the game. That's the threshold system as it relates to Redacted. The big difference between this game and Once Upon is that Redacted um, has added opposed tests and has added some abilities to the props, which Redacted is a lot more story forward and probably a little bit less action sceney, although it can have some action. The one other thing that I think is a really kind of like semi-advanced step in Redacted that we have is something called a scene test. A scene test has a set number of successes that the players need to score in order to move on to the next scene. So, for example, maybe you're trying to outrun an enemy spy that has made you, right? And uh, let's say you need 2 successes for every character in the party in order to succeed here. Well, what happens then is each character makes their own tests about how they are impacting the scene, um, and the successes that they roll get added together to try to meet a larger number. And once they get to that larger target number, they succeed. Now, if they don't do that in a single round, they every single character in the party suffers some type of problem based on the story that's happening. So I've both seen tests that have been run in play testing have been the character's favorite storytelling part of the game. So we're really excited to see how that pans out as well. So uh, my name's Al Spader, GM Admiral on all socials. If you have any questions at all about how the system works, or you need to, be guided through how to actually run the games, please reach out to me. I'm always available on all socials, and I'll try to help you out. But all in all, I think that you're all going to love Redacted, and I hope that you love the Threshold system too. That's all I got for you. Have a great day.